The attack on the Kaaba, after 500 armed men followed a false Mahdi, was an incident that shook the entire Muslim world. But this was not the first time the Kaaba had been attacked. In fact, throughout history, several attacks have been carried out against the house of Allah. And the strangest fact is that most of these attacks were carried out not by outsiders, but by Muslims themselves. The very first attack on the Kaaba took place before the birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. A great ruler of Yemen named Abraha marched with an army of 60,000 soldiers and huge elephants, intending to demolish the Kaaba. But Allah sent his miraculous punishment. Birds carrying stones of fire destroyed Abraha's entire army, saving the Kaaba without a scratch. However, in the second attack on the Kaaba, something happened for the first time in history. The Kaaba was set on fire, and the man responsible was none other than Yazid ibn Muawiyah. As soon as Yazid came to power, his army brutally martyred Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, the beloved grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, along with his family at Karbala. But Yazid did not stop there. After Karbala, people everywhere began rejecting his rule, especially in the city of Medina. The people of Medina, most of whom were companions of the Prophet, Sallallahu, or their children, rose against Yazid. They stormed the Umayyad headquarters in Medina and expelled the entire Umayyad clan. When Yazid heard this in Damascus, he sent a massive army to crush the people of Medina. He gave his soldiers a cruel order. If within 3 days the people of Medina do not accept me as their ruler, you have full permission to kill whomever you wish, loot their homes, and do as you please. Yazid's army marched towards Medina. To defend themselves, the people of Medina dug the same type of trench that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had dug during the Battle of the Trench. But this time, instead of non-believers, it was Muslims fighting Muslims. Unfortunately, the trench failed to protect them. Yazid's forces stormed into Medina, massacred companions and their families for 3 days, looted their houses, and even committed unspeakable crimes against women. Many survivors fled to Mecca, where Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu, a senior companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, had already risen against Yazid and refused to recognize him as caliph. After destroying Medina, Yazid now turned his attention to Mecca. He ordered his army to march towards the holy city and kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. But conquering Mecca was no easy task. Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu and his followers defended the city with courage. For 40 days, Yazid's army attacked, but they could not defeat the defenders with swords. Finally, they brought forward catapults and began bombarding Mecca with huge stones. For the first time in history, bombardment took place on the holy city. Some of these stones struck the Kaaba itself, damaging its walls. Still, Yazid's forces could not gain victory. One night, under the cover of darkness, a soldier set fire to an arrow and launched it towards the Muslim camp near the Kaaba. The fire spread quickly due to the desert winds, and tragically the flames reached the Kaaba. For the first time in history, the sacred Kaaba burned down. Muslims stood in shock, watching the house of Allah engulfed in flames. This, however, became Yazid's last mistake. Shortly after the Kaaba caught fire, Yazid died suddenly. His army retreated without conquering Mecca. The Kaaba was left burned and weakened. Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu did not immediately rebuild it. He wanted Muslims from across the world to witness the shameful act committed under Yazid's rule. When Hajj came and Muslims saw the burned Kaaba, anger against the Umayyads grew stronger. Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu addressed the pilgrims asking, "What should we do with the Kaaba?" Some said to leave it as it was, but he replied, "If our own houses catch fire, we repair them. How can we leave Allah's house in ruins?" He then rebuilt the Kaaba, expanding it to the original dimensions built by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Yazid's 3-year rule left behind 3 infamous acts. 1. The massacre of Karbala, the attack on Medina, the burning of the Kaaba. Because of these crimes, Muslims developed deep hatred for the Umayyads. After Yazid's death, his son Muawiyah II briefly became caliph, but soon died. He declared before his death that no one would succeed him, leaving the Muslims to choose their own caliph. This led to Abdullah ibn Zubair, radiallahu anhu, being recognized by many as the new caliph, and his rule spread across most of the Muslim lands except for the Umayyads, who refused to accept him. But the Umayyads soon appointed a new ruler, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Unlike his predecessors, Abdul Malik struck a deal with the Roman Empire, paying them 1,000 gold coins every week for peace, declaring that his real enemy was not Rome, but Abdullah ibn Zubair in Mecca. After consolidating power in Iraq, Abdul Malik decided it was time to march on Mecca. He called his generals, asking who would attack the city and kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. None dared to volunteer, fearing a repeat of Yazid's mistake. Finally, one young general raised his hand, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. He shamelessly declared that he had seen a dream of skinning Abdullah ibn Zubair alive. Abdul Malik was pleased and sent Hajjaj with a powerful army to Mecca. Like Yazid before him, Hajjaj could not defeat Abdullah ibn Zubair with swords, so he set up catapults in the mountains and began bombarding the Kaaba. Stones rained down upon the sacred mosque, one striking the Kaaba itself. Lightning flashed in the sky, frightening the soldiers, but Hajjaj declared, "Do not fear. This is a sign that Allah is with us." His army resumed firing, and once again the Kaaba was struck heavily. While people fled in fear, one man remained praying by the Kaaba amidst the bombardment, Caliph Abdullah ibn Zubair, radiallahu anhu. Realizing the hopelessness of his situation, Abdullah ibn Zubair visited his mother Asma bint Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the first caliph. He told her, "Mother, today is my last day." She gave him prayers and strength. He went out bravely with his sword, fighting until he was martyred by Hajjaj's army. But Hajjaj's cruelty did not stop there. He beheaded Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu and sent the head to Abdul Malik as a gift. He then hung his body upside down in Mecca to terrify Muslims. When Hajjaj confronted Asma radiallahu anhu, mocking her, she replied, "You destroyed my son's worldly life, but he destroyed your hereafter." Instead of punishing Hajjaj for bombarding the Kaaba, Abdul Malik rewarded him by appointing him governor of Iraq and Persia. Hajjaj even demolished the Kaaba rebuilt by Ibn Zubair and reconstructed it in the old design, the way it still stands today. Thus, within just 10 years, the Umayyads carried out 2 devastating attacks on the Kaaba. The Kaaba, the most sacred site in Islam, had already faced 2 major devastations under the Umayyads. But history did not stop there. More attacks would come, some by outsiders, and some, shockingly, from Muslims themselves. After the martyrdom of Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu, the Kaaba remained under the control of the Umayyads for some decades. Eventually, the Abbasid dynasty rose to power, overthrowing the Umayyads. The Abbasids moved the capital to Baghdad and became the new rulers of the Muslim world. But peace for the Kaaba was still far away. One of the darkest moments in Islamic history occurred in the 10th century, when a heretical group known as the Qarmatians carried out an unthinkable crime. They were an extremist sect who rejected mainstream Islam and believed in their own distorted faith. In 930 CE, during the Hajj season, the Qarmatians marched into Mecca. Thousands of unarmed pilgrims were present at the Kaaba, busy in their rituals. Suddenly, the Qarmatians launched their attack. Swords flashed, and blood filled the sacred mosque. It is said that they massacred over 30,000 pilgrims inside the Kaaba's courtyard. The Zamzam well overflowed with bodies, and the mosque was stained with the blood of worshippers. But their cruelty went even further. They ripped off the door of the Kaaba, looted its coverings, and then committed the most shocking act. They tore the black stone Hajar-e-Aswad from the Kaaba's wall and carried it away with them to Bahrain. For 22 years, the Kaaba stood incomplete, its cornerstone missing. Muslims around the world cried in grief, praying for its return. Finally, under pressure from the wider Muslim world, the Qarmatians returned the black stone. But they did so disrespectfully. They broke it into pieces before sending it back. To this day, the Hajar-e-Aswad bears cracks, a reminder of that tragedy. This was not just an attack on the Kaaba, it was an attack on the heart of Islam itself. Another tragedy struck during the Abbasid era. In the year 1039, a massive fire broke out inside the Kaaba, possibly from candles or lamps used for lighting. The flames engulfed the cloth coverings and wooden structures, weakening the walls until they collapsed. The Kaaba had to be rebuilt once again. Muslim rulers from across the world contributed resources to restore the House of Allah, and it was reconstructed with stronger foundations. Nature itself has also tested the Kaaba. Several times in history, floods swept through Mecca due to heavy rains. The valley in which the Kaaba stands has little drainage, so the water often rises high enough to reach the Kaaba's walls. In some floods, the Kaaba was partially submerged, and worshippers performed tawaf by swimming around it. Each time, Muslims repaired the Kaaba, reinforcing it against natural disasters. By the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire had taken control of Mecca. During their reign, the Kaaba suffered damage again when its roof collapsed during heavy rains. The Ottomans carefully rebuilt and strengthened it, ensuring it could withstand time and calamities. The Kaaba we see today largely reflects the structure rebuilt in the Ottoman era, with renovations and maintenance continuing over the centuries. The last and most shocking modern attack on the Kaaba took place in 1979. On the first day of the new Islamic century, 1st Muharram, 1400 AH, hundreds of armed men stormed the Grand Mosque. They were led by Juhayman al-Utaybi, who claimed that one of his companions was the awaited Mahdi. For 2 weeks, the rebels seized the Kaaba and held thousands of worshippers hostage. The Saudi government was stunned and initially unable to respond. Out of respect for the sanctity of the mosque, they avoided heavy assault. But soon, the rebels began killing people, and the crisis escalated. Finally, Saudi forces, with help from foreign advisors, launched a military operation. Fierce battles raged inside the Kaaba's compound. Grenades, guns, and even poison gas were used to flush out the rebels. In the end, hundreds were killed, including both rebels and soldiers. Juhayman and his followers were captured and later executed publicly. But the siege left deep scars. Bullet holes and damage to the Kaaba's structure had to be repaired, and for the first time in modern history, Muslims saw the House of Allah under armed assault. Throughout history, the Kaaba has been burned, bombarded, flooded, looted, and even seized. Yet every time, Allah protected his house from complete destruction. From Abraha's elephants destroyed by birds, to Yazid's fire failing to erase its legacy, to the Qarmatians' theft of the black stone, it has always survived. The Kaaba stands today as a witness to the trials of history, stronger than the empires and rulers who tried to harm it. And as Muslims believe, until the last day, the Kaaba will remain the center of faith, untouchable, except by the will of Allah. The Kaaba has faced fire, floods, and even the swords of men, but it still stands, unshaken, because no power on earth can destroy what Allah protects. If this story moved your heart, then share it with others and let them know the strength of faith that guards the House of Allah. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold Islamic stories that history tried to hide.